What a theme! Through the eyes of InView TV by Catchy Music there. We love it. It is so catchy. I'm William in Sydney, and welcome to At Home here on InView TV every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We always welcome you. We interview people from the arts, politics, business, you name it, they're on our show. And right now, I'm going to introduce you to my very special co-host on the Gold Coast, Belinda Joe. How are you, Belinda? Welcome.
I'm very well, William. Thanks. How are you?
I've been really good. It's getting cold here in Sydney, but we've had some beautiful sunny days. And of course, people are starting to go out again. I'm being careful, but you know, there's something about physical company. Although we love being online, it's just great to meet up with people as long as we're cautious. But the Gold Coast, I saw some photos of you earlier. It looks so beautiful. I think you were by the pool.
Yes, I was tanning by the pool. I haven't quite felt the crispness of winter just yet, but been tanning by the pool all day, of course researching for tonight's show, but enjoying the weather up here.
And it's a very special month this month, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Wanted to say happy Pride Month to you, William, and to all our everyone viewing at home as well. How exciting. Happy
Pride Month. I do have a rainbow scarf, but of course we've got a green screen, so it might be a bit see-through. But you know, people are probably saying, why on earth is William in Sydney, Belinda's on the Gold Coast, and we have Flinders Street Station in Melbourne behind us? We'll be telling you in just a moment, but there's somebody else I've got to introduce you to. Our executive producer, the man who makes it all happen, Bruce Mott, who's just the other side of the Sydney Harbour Bridge in North Sydney. Hi Bruce, how are you going?
Very well. William, Belinda, how are you?
Really good. It's great to see you, Bruce.
Lovely to be here. I mean, it wasn't feeling too good yesterday. I was a bit flat yesterday, just I think, but long nights, long days, all that sort of stuff. Great week. Love watching the SpaceX thing happen during the week and that launch.
Amazing.
That was brilliant. Yeah, really enjoyed
that. So
that.
Exciting.
Yeah, and looking forward to another brilliant show tonight.
Thanks so much, Bruce.
Have a good show.
Thanks, Bruce. Really good talking to you. And of course, you are watching at home on InView TV. It's now coming up to 7:05 Eastern Standard Time here in Australia. And of course, we did mention Flinders Street Station right behind us in Melbourne. There's a reason we're there, because we're about to interview one of Melbourne's top entertainers and cabaret performers. We're going to meet the man behind the queen of the cabaret circuit in Melbourne, Dolly Diamond. But before we do, let's see him in action.
The studio, the wonderful, the fabulous, dare I say, the dressed for a wedding, Dolly Diamond.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm ready.
You're ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready for what?
I can't wait. I love any occasion generally, but a royal wedding, I think that's when we all come alive, isn't it?
I think so.
Yes, I've watched you. You've embraced it.
I have embraced it.
So I'm not actually going.
No. Oh, what happened to your invitation?
Well,
I heard it was coming your way.
You didn't arrive. No, it don't matter. I'm going to watch it on the telly.
Okay.
And I shall sit there with a nice bit of champagne, some Pimm's, some gin, some vodka, and then I'll have a drink and just enjoy it. That's the way to do it.
Definitely an administrative
error. The British do it so well.
They do it.
And now, please welcome Dolly Diamond.
If they could see me now, that little gang of mine, I'm eating fancy chow and drinking fancy wine. I like to stumble thumbs to see for a fact the kind of top drawer, top notch friends I attract. All I can say is, wow, just look at where I am tonight. I landed right in a pot of jam. What a setup when I amuse you. When I amuse you.
I'm Kerry Stanley.
And I'm Dolly Diamond.
And welcome to Kerry and Dolly's house.
Oh, at last.
Can I hear you?
Yes, am I on? Am I on? Is this working? We got all your emails and messages that my mic wasn't working last episode. A lot of people were very grateful about that. But I'm on now. I'm on.
And God forbid, because we love hearing you, Dolly. And you cannot silence Dolly. Oh, no.
Oh, why would you want to? We want you to sit back. Do not relax. Because we want you to get ready for, well, it's at least an hour of great value television. Do not adjust your sets. We are this fabulous. And we are looking forward to an hour with you. It may be longer. It may be shorter if they take us off the air.
Wow. Dolly Diamond, a born performer. Michael Dalton, it's a pleasure to meet the man behind Dolly. How are you? Welcome to At Home on InView TV.
I'm well. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
We are so glad to have you here. Now, I've got to ask, you are a born performer. You're always on the stage. You're always on ABC News Breakfast. What does somebody like you, who's an extrovert, do during COVID? How do you cope?
Apparently I do more work, but it looks, yeah, for a while when it all was announced, I didn't do anything. I was in bed and just didn't want to face anything. And then I was lucky enough that I got a phone call to do a live streaming show that we had a little bit of a glimpse of with the lovely Kerry Stanley. And we got onto that almost, you know, like we began it almost a month after everything went down. And that really saved me. I love performing, and it looks like I need it, you know. It's
you definitely need it. You're natural on stage.
It's that avenue that you know that you need to show off, really, isn't it?
It's fantastic. Now, I remember the first time I saw you performing was at Midsummer in Melbourne in around January 2007. I saw this queen, this drag performer, performing Sway, and then I heard an English accent. And I want to know, what is a nice English boy like you doing in a place like this?
Well, I'm still doing Sway, and we emigrated when I was really young, and I lived in Melbourne for 10 years, and then moved back to London, and then I think I moved back officially in 2009, but I'd been visiting for a while and working. I mean, I obviously, even back then, I loved coming to Melbourne and Australia, getting anywhere really. And I love living over here. Going back to London is now an adventure, you know, before all of this. And for me, this is still a very lucky country, you know. I know that a lot is different from what it was 10, 15 years ago. But even now, we've seen that we're in a country that is its own, you know, it's its own bubble, really.
Because you invented Dolly in 2002, didn't you, while you were in London, and you moved back in 2009. What brought you back to Australia?
I met a guy over here, and I also became a father. And between the both of them, it was enough. I was going backwards and forwards, and it just, you know, I just thought, what am I doing? You know, why am I not staying in Melbourne and living in Melbourne?
And Michael, you mentioned Melbourne. How important is living in a city that has such a cultural and arts focus? And how important was it that your parents chose Melbourne when you first came over?
Well, when we arrived, I didn't obviously know, you know, Melbourne at all. I'd been here on holiday, and my eldest brother and sister were living over here, and I loved it, but obviously I didn't know anywhere else, and I was only 12, and I went to school in Ringwood, which was a bit of a culture shock to London, you know, even for a 12-year-old. I think Melbourne is definitely very cultural. But I love, and this I'm answering honestly, I love going anywhere in Australia to work. You know, if you've got, you know, I love going to Adelaide. I love going to, I don't do a lot on the Gold Coast, I've got to be honest. But I would definitely go there for that bloody weather.
Yeah, well,
but, you know, God, I really loved listening to you that you were lying by the swimming pool. That didn't make me angry at all.
Not at all. No,
you know,
no, not the slightest.
I know. I love the fact that in Melbourne, I've been given all the opportunities I've been given, you know, and you've obviously got to do something with them when they're offered, or you've got to get out there and get it. Melbourne's allowed me to get out there and really get it.
Now, Michael, your background, your father was an officer in the army, wasn't he? I think, was he a sergeant major? Is that correct?
He was,
so,
and he was a sergeant major before he was even allowed in the army legally.
Wow.
He left school when he was 12, and he was in the army like at 14, and then he was a sergeant major by the time he was 16. And
so you must have had quite a regimented life. Was it quite strict growing up?
Well, I mean, you know, good luck with that. You know, I did. When my dad yelled at us, "Get up, you know, like that sort of, I was terrified, you know. He had that really shouting voice when he needed to, you know. He was a bloody lovely man. But yes, I did. You know, we were always on time. I was never late, and I'm never late, and I'm obviously really annoying to anyone else when they're late.
I think punctuality is so important. So when you started performing on the scene, I'm guessing you came out first to them. What was their reaction? Because of course you're one of 4 siblings as well. So your family, when you came out and then became a performer, dressing up as somebody of the opposite sex, what was their reaction?
They had no idea. No, I reckon they obviously knew when I was like really young. And I was, you know, always getting up and performing from when I was young, and I was a little bit effeminate, I would imagine.
No, surely not.
I know. Can you imagine? And they were the most supportive parents you could ever imagine, you know. Fantastic. And they encouraged me to perform. I remember saying to my mum, I said, well, you know, about a mate of mine, I said, he's gay. And she said, well, what about you? Are you gay?
She knew.
And I said, do you want to know the truth? And she said, yes. I said, yes, I am. So it was very theatrical, but in a real emotional way, in our yellow kitchen in Ringwood.
And you mentioned earlier that you have a child, I believe a daughter. Has she seen you perform?
Oh, yes. She's a big fan. You know, I reckon it's, you know, in the beginning, I was really nervous about her watching me, and I didn't feel comfortable, because even though, you know, it was going to be obvious that she had a gay dad, I hadn't come out to her. You know, you don't come out to children. They just learn to live with you and accept you, and then, you know, realize, maybe, I don't know, it's different with everyone, but I was in the parade in Dalesford at Chill Out, and we were going around in the parade, and I could see them in the distance, the mums and my daughter, and I was all emotional, you know, trying to wave at the same time, you know. But over the years, yeah, she's been to gigs, the ones that are appropriate. And yeah, she's an amazing girl. I think, you know, you realise that you're very lucky when you have a child that most children are accepting, but she's a little bit magic.
And
Belinda, you go ahead.
I was going to ask you, how did you come up with the character of Dolly Diamond, and how did you choose her name?
Well, I was in London, and I was offered a gig in Wales, and the woman that was booking said, "Oh, there's a gig. Oh, that's right. You don't do drag." And I said, "What is it? I want to do it. I'm going to do it." And she said, "Well, it's in Wales, and you've got to do 45 minutes." And I thought, I'm doing it. And so I went down to Clapham Junction, and I went to the cheap shoes tour, and I bought a pair of shoes that were about that, that much off the ground, which is ridiculous because I've worn more than that in my life. But I thought, don't be, you've got to be steady, girl. Don't overdo it. And I went off to Wales and I did this gig and I loved it, and I'd been doing a gig in Madame Jojo's with Mikey Diamond, and so I went with Dolly Diamond. I loved Dolly Parton. I grew up loving Dolly, and so I settled on Dolly Diamond.
Very fond memories of Madame Jojo's. I used to be a regular there, way back when.
Great? I did Naked Boys singing back in that venue as well.
How did I miss that?
I don't know. I was the Naked Maid, and I loved that. It's an amazing show, and my mum and dad came to that, and it was, everyone's like, would you really want your mum and dad to see you completely naked? And obviously my mum, I've seen it all. It was a little bit smaller when she saw it, but whatever.
One of the things I love about you, Michael, is that your drag reminds me very much of the music hall drag that, you used to have in England, and people like Phil Starr and the Trollettes, whereas Australian drag is very much more, looking very glamorous. Not that Dolly doesn't look glamorous, but very glamorous and miming. You sing live, but you use comedy too. How do you think that Australian drag and, British drag are different? What are the main differences?
Well, I mean, there's obviously Trevor Ashley is an incredible performer and does live. There used to be Que Sera that was live, and there is now. There's a few more. There's a few more that do it live. Hugo Morrison in WA and others. I don't know if there's major differences, and I grew up watching mime. Doreen Manganini and Kerry Lagore and Miss Kennedy, a million of them, and I still love that now. If once we're allowed out, I'll be well down the front, screaming, and loving it all. For me, it was always going to be that British way because that's what I grew up with, like you mentioned, and I think we grew up doing gigs when you'd be on at 11 and not everyone there was there to see you. They just were there. They were out and they were drinking, and you learn to really be assertive when you're with an audience, because if you don't control them, then you've lost the night and everyone's just, talking while you are. And I loathe that. That's why arriving in Melbourne and doing a gig where people would buy a ticket and sit there and listen was gold. I loved it, and I obviously still love that.
And obviously, as we spoke about before, COVID-19 has affected everyone's ability to go out and perform and jump on the stage. What's the first thing you're going to do once these restrictions are lifted, professionally or personally?
I wouldn't mind getting let. No. What will I do?
Wouldn't we all love?
Well, what will I do? Well, I reckon what we miss is an audience. But we do our streaming gig twice a week, and I am so grateful for that. I don't love every minute of the fact that it is in my lounge room, but I'm that my gratitude outweighs everything else. I love being able to work with Kerry because we get to have a laugh, and Kerry makes me laugh, and vice versa, and I need that. I need to be able to laugh. It's what we all love, isn't it? Really. And I always imagine, even now, like you just imagine that there's people watching and the people enjoying what you're doing, and because why would you think any other way, really? But I really want an audience. I want that response and I want that warmth. But I also want to be out with mates and having a drink and enjoying a night out. But mostly, I would love everyone to be out and for life to get back to just normal, you know. And I know that's obviously what we all want, but boy, do we miss it, don't we? We miss the normality of life, and everyone says it won't be the same again. I think elements of it will be, you know, and if we have to make changes in life because of the way we live, I think that's good as well.
One thing I will say is that
it's a very long answer, wasn't it?
No, it's a perfect answer. One thing I will say is one of the silver linings of COVID, I think, have been video shows. And I know a lot of people, they do miss going to bars and clubs, but for a lot of people, particularly in our LGBTIQ community, who don't live in towns, who don't live in cities, it's been fantastic to sort of reach out to them and help them feel part of, you know, the fun, the theatre, the campness. So I do hope that we can keep an element of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, we don't know that too, as in, you know, normally we don't know. You're right. That is, I would imagine you're right. And, you know, yeah, I wish that if that is true, and then I mean, I would imagine, fingers crossed, we get to do Kerry and Dolly even when the doors are open and everyone goes everywhere. And, you know, in what way that is, I don't know. And but yeah, I think, you know, what we do want to do is open up what we're doing to our country and rural areas. We're a Victorian-based show with a Victorian grant from our government, and Victoria Together is our platform, the main one we're on. But we, you know, God, I really hope, you know, as you say, because of the internet, that everybody gets to enjoy it. That would be, you know, that would be great.
Now, you've mentioned Kerry and Dolly a few times. Can you tell us a bit more about the show?
No.
Okay, yeah. Next question.
Well, it's on twice a week, and it's the idea of it really was to give everyone something else to watch that maybe appeal to, as you mentioned, our community and beyond. You know, I don't sit there thinking this is just for the gays, and, you know, this is for everyone in the community and beyond. You know, anyone that wants to have a laugh and enjoys, you know, some great musical performances. And we stream through Joy on Joy TV, and we've watched it grow, which has just been phenomenal, on Fed Square's Facebook, Midsummer, Melbourne Queer Film, Victoria Together, as I mentioned, and every now and again on the gorgeous Sydney Mardi Gras page as well. And we've got a Pride Week coming up, and we'll be streaming. We've got one show with Ro Allen will be coming back on, and
love Ro Allen.
Some amazing. They are amazing, and some other guests which I will announce later. But also on the Thursday, we'll be streaming and doing a show with Arts Centre Melbourne. And we're just really, really happy that we've been embraced in that way. That we, you know, I'll always go knocking on doors, but we've had people come to us asking if we would like to collaborate. And that is a lovely feeling. And it's just, you know, something that you get, you know, if a pandemic brings that out more, then that's got to be good.
Now, you mentioned Midsummer. You've also performed at the Melbourne Cabaret Festival, the International Comedy Festival. What are your favourite events to perform at?
Ones with a good audience, you know, ones with an appreciative audience. You know, you can be in a venue where it's a massive crowd, and, you know, if they're just sort of nonplussed about it, then it doesn't really matter where you are, does it? You know, and I do love a Midsummer gig, and there's the Geelong Piano Bar. I love going down there to perform, but I think, you know, whatever the audience, as long as they've got a bit of an open mind, I don't mind working my ass off to win them over.
Quite right.
That's, you know, that's, I think, years of the groundwork that you do when you're learning what you're doing and, getting better. And I just think, you will be mine and I will win you over. And if not, then it ain't my fault. I did everything I could do.
Now, I cannot let you go without asking you about a show that everybody keeps talking about, RuPaul's Drag Race. What do you think about shows like that?
I love it. I haven't watched the last series. I got rid of just before all this went down. I got rid of Netflix and Stan. The idea was that I really wanted to focus and do some writing, and then all this bloody happened, and I haven't got them back yet. So when everyone says, "Have you watched, RuPaul or Tiger King or whatever?" and I'm like, "No," and then they walk off on me. They're not interested. But I love RuPaul's Drag Race. It is what it is, like any entertainment, though. And for a while, everyone would say, "Oh, you do drag, you should go on that." Well, the fact that I don't really do my own makeup, well anyway, my eyebrows tend to go right around my face, and and I don't make clothes. It's like suggesting to a singer that they should go on The Voice. The Voice isn't for everyone. RuPaul's Drag Race isn't for everyone. It's a competition, and it doesn't define drag, but it's a bloody good showcase for it.
Now, you mentioned other people do your makeup. So what's the process of Michael transforming into Dolly, and how long does it take?
It's about an hour and 30 minutes, and it's he's sitting there like that because it's really boring, but God, it's worth it. I've been mainly with a beautiful girl called Laura, and she's just fabulous. Has been doing mine, Kerry and Dolly. We just recently now brought another girl in, Laura and Lana, and it's just, I think what it is, there's, they do all that foundation, get rid of the brows, put it all on, and I don't think I actually become Dolly until I'm there in the moment and we've got everything on. And I think probably once the wig goes on, I feel Dolly. Otherwise, it's not a sense of getting into character as such. It's, you look at yourself, and I think you become more feminine, and it becomes more Dolly.
Belinda.
And I know, yes, Michael, I know you mentioned you don't do your own makeup, but this fabulous set design behind you, did you do that?
Yes, I did it all. No, I didn't. I got a man in, and our amazing executive producer, Luke Gallagher, did it. And Kerry and Dolly are out the front, and as is always, there is someone pulling the strings, and that is Luke Gallagher. He's a great mate, and our executive producer, and does so much work. We've got Dina Curie working on this show, Sexy Guy, Mama Alto, lots and lots of other identities that, make it what it is. And, I love the set. I love the logo. I've gone the wrong way, haven't I? There we go. Kerry and Dolly. Yeah, well, I mean, it was never going to be Butch, was it? We had to, when we're doing our logo and everything else, you look at what colours you want, and funny enough, beige didn't get.
You've mentioned some wonderful performers in Melbourne. Who have been your favourite people to work with?
Oh, none of them quite. No, I mean, everyone that's on this. Otherwise, we wouldn't invite them. I don't, and all the have 4 singers or 4 performers in 1 week, and that's a lot. We've done now 12 shows, and a joy to be able to ring up or email everyone and that you really love and respect, and say, will you do the show? We give them a, but it's not, it's not normally get when in the big world. But it's, a chance to, and, we really respect the artists we're asking to do. And so we hope we look after them when they're on. I think it's just lucky that we're able to do that.
What does the future hold for Michael and Dolly?
God knows. I mean, I don't know if any of us know that, do we? Midsummer again. I'm doing Midsummer. What that will be, I think we're all waiting to get the answer on that. Whether it's going to the way it normally does, I doubt it. But I definitely want to be involved in Midsummer. And then, the rest of the year, I love doing that festival circuit, go to Adelaide, go to WA. And, I'm lucky in that I've got a bit of diversity. I get to be an ambassador with Guide Dogs Victoria and Movember. There's those sort of events. Well, Give Out Day, which is later in the year with very lovely Simon Dunn. And we're out for that. And I love an eclectic life. I love not really knowing. I mean, I love to know what's going on, but I like it to be different.
You do a lot of charity work. You're not just performing in bars and clubs to make a living. You're also helping out others and helping out crucial and important organizations. How important to you is your charity work?
Well, you've got to have that balance, When I was asked to be an ambassador for Guide Dogs, it's not very difficult, is it, to imagine what you're doing would be, beneficial to those with low vision and blindness. I think I live a very lucky life, and, I work for what I get, but I'm able to work for what I get. And I think if you're able to do something for other people, then it's your job, really. You should be doing that. And I get a lot out of it, I get to work with, I got to go to Mardi Gras and march with, clients and staff in the Mardi Gras parade with a giant dog. And, it was amazing. That's not work. It was massive. And that's not work, is it? That's a gift. But I knew that it was making a lot of people that were in the parade very, very happy. They've never marched before. And, what a treat for all of us.
It was amazing, and that huge dog. And I think you were holding the hand of a young child during the parade.
I was, and he was just the best,
Adorable.
It really was. And, gosh, that's amazing. What an honor. And I know that I'm so sincere about that I feel very, very lucky.
So we've talked to you about your life. We've talked to you about your career. What advice? I know, but what advice?
I got a note from your doctor.
Well, I can't let you go because we do have a lot of younger viewers. I hope. No, we do. What advice do you have for those budding drag queens, drag performers? What advice would you give them?
I reckon for any performer, really, isn't it? That you've got to, if that is what you want, that is what you'll do. But a great mate is the lovely Rhonda Birchmore. You've got to learn to diversify. And I remember Rhonda saying that to me in an interview. And, I've learned to diversify. I started in musicals. I did male, stuff as Michael, and then Dolly was born, and I've run with that. Well, not run, you know what I mean. And I've minced with that, and now I think as long as I'm comfortable in what it is, I don't mind a challenge. But you've just got to bloody well go for it, and not give up. I'm a believer though that. And not everyone believes in this, that, sometimes in life you'll need to do stuff and not worry whether there's money involved in it. And you've got to be mindful that you're not taken advantage of. But as long as you're mind and you're willing to do it, then you'll never be taken advantage of.
For me, I think it's beautiful. And for me, one of the biggest things is to have fun. I know our executive producer, Bruce Mott, when we were talking about this show, he said, William, if you're not having fun, why do it? You've got to have fun. Yeah. And we do have fun. And I can see when you perform, you're really enjoying yourself. Belinda, have you got any final questions?
Not every show. I mean, let's be honest. You know, you've got to go in with that mindset that you know, I think if you agree to do it, you've got to bloody well do it, and you've got to do it well. And chances are, once you get your ass there and you get involved in it, you will enjoy it, you know. And that's what you've got to do.
Belinda.
Michael, yes, just before we go, I wanted to know how our viewers can tune into your show.
Well, there's Facebook, you know, pages, Midsummer, Melbourne Queer Film, Dolly, Kerry and Dolly, Victoria Together, Fed Square. We're on all of those, and Joy TV, obviously. Whoops. And just, you know, we'll be on all of those 7:30 on a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Michael Dalton, aka Dolly Diamond. We got 2 guests in one this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to have you back.
We'll give it a year, eh?
Give it a year or so. I've got so many more questions.
Never know. I might have done more by then.
We'll still be COVID.
Really, Belinda.
Thank you so much. Belinda, wasn't it wonderful speaking to Dolly Diamond, Michael Dalton? I didn't always know which one I was speaking to, but what a joy.
I know. What an amazing career, and how much has he given back to the performing arts? Amazing.
So much. One of my favourite performers, I still remember when I saw Dolly performing about 13 years ago, and I heard that English accent. I heard the singing, I heard all the comedy, the humour, and I said, I want to meet this guy. I want to interview him. And thanks to InView TV, thanks to you, Belinda, thanks to Bruce Mott, it's happened.
Here we are. Well, we will have to get back down to Melbourne to see another show soon when we can.
Absolutely. Do check out Dolly Diamond when you're next in Melbourne. But it's been a great show this evening. Thanks so much for your company. Do join us again next week for At Home and on InView TV at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And we'd love to have your company. Until then, from me, William Broom in Sydney, our executive producer, Bruce Mott, and of course, my co-host on the Gold Coast, Belinda Joe. Have a great week. Talk to you next Wednesday. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.